Well, I think a good place to start would be kind of just your name, your company, and what you do.
Hi guys, I'm Steph Chen. I'm the founder and CEO of Anyday. We are a company that's doing a crazy thing of trying to get people to use their microwave to cook food from scratch. And we basically give you the cookware and the knowledge and recipes and content to help you do that. Where to begin? We had a lot of struggles actually, and Pilothouse was Anyday is only almost exactly 2 years old right now. So we'd only worked with one other agency prior to Pilothouse, and that agency, they started off pretty good. It's like they ramped on pretty quickly, got things running, and over time, I just felt like the level of initiative and proactivity were not what they started off with. And just generally, I felt like in the meetings, I was constantly asking for like, okay, so what's like the higher level approach here? And like, what are we going to do to get ROAS and get revenue generated on primarily on Facebook, I guess, like back on track. And I felt like the partnership that I was getting from them was pretty minimal. And like the teams were constantly changing, and we had like an account manager that we'd primarily be speaking with, but she wasn't the one like in the account. And so it was like a significant disconnect between like our weekly calls with the agency that we were with and the actual people in the account. And I felt like there was a big communication gap there. And I felt like the people in the account themselves didn't have like a perfect platform expertise. And I'm not a, I don't have a background in like performance and growth marketing. And so I'm kind of like picking things up, learning as I go. But I'm not the one that's going to be like, oh, we should try like this specific audience tactic or like exclusion tactic or a whatever bidding strategy. That's what I'm looking for my agency to like put forth to me. And I felt like they weren't doing that. And so we were like, what else is out there? How do we find partners who are more actual partners in all of this? And we stumbled upon Pilothouse. Yeah. I wanted an agency that wasn't going to do things the the normal way, I guess I would say. And I wanted an agency that was like going to that was on like the cutting edge basically of the thinking in that whole space. And actually that's how we ended up stumbling upon Pilothouse, because my marketing director, Danielle, and we both subscribed to the D2C newsletter. And as we were feeling less and less happy with our current agency, we were constantly actually like pulling insights from the D2C newsletter and sending them to our current agency. We're like, hey guys, have we considered this thing? Have we considered this thing? And they'd always be like, and it wasn't like super well received feedback. And we're like, what are we doing? Maybe we should just reach out to the people that created this newsletter, which is exactly what we did. So then we met Dan, and something that I'm not even sure that I was looking for consciously, but I realized that I wanted after speaking with Pilothouse is the model, the comp structure model. I felt like in our old agency, after speaking with Dan and the Pilothouse team, was my previous comp structure was very much the wrong incentive for the agency. And, it was incentivized. It was like a base fee plus like a percentage of spend. And without really like an eye, of course, like an eye on performance, but that it wasn't like the main KPI wasn't performance. And so something that like I was so psyched to hear Dan proactively talk about, not as like a, hey, how can we like me asking for it, is like, he was basically talking about how Pilothouse is first and foremost is based on this like the whole team having accountability and having and being aligned and incentivized on specifically revenue and efficiency goals, which I had never heard of in an agency before after shopping around a little bit. And it's just so much easier to work with an agency that has instinctively aligned goals as you do. And that doesn't feel like in meetings that you're pulling teeth to get them to be like performance outlook. Primarily ROAS, so an efficiency metric. We started off with Google specifically, so Google and YouTube, and then we jumped on with Facebook and Instagram, or Meta, a few months later. So in both of them, our goals are pretty simple. It's just ROAS and total revenue. And yeah, I think within the first, for Google, we switched in the middle of Q4 actually, so a high heat moment already. But like we already saw a massive jump just in the first month, I believe, in ROAS for that platform, and still we were spending, I think, roughly the same amount as well. So just like ROAS infinitely increased, it felt like, and I had really wanted to jump on with Meta too. But it just like it hadn't worked with the budget at that time. So we ended up jumping on as, I think we were Pilothouse's second pilot program client. And that worked so well for us, because for us, we didn't, like my team, on our team itself, we create a lot of content and we work with a lot of influencers and can get really solid content. Our trouble was the platform itself, and like being able to like buy effectively and use all of those like Facebook tactics that we just didn't know about. And so we jumped on with Facebook in February. And again, within the first, maybe even like couple weeks, we saw a really significant ROAS jump. And it's only gotten better since then. We've looked at some like year-on-year comparisons over Q4 of last year, and basically in October, our ROAS in October was a almost 600% increase versus the prior year, and that was with doubling spend. So we both doubled spend and we 6x'd ROAS, which is absolutely wild. In November, we basically 4x'd spend, but we doubled ROAS. And then in December, we essentially 3x'd spend, but also 3x'd ROAS. I think probably my biggest fear was that the cost wasn't going to be worth it. And like it's significantly, like we now pay a significantly higher base fee than we did to our previous agency, and we pay a PI, a performance incentive, on top of that. And essentially, I was a little skeptical that all in all, because it's a significant cost for the company, it was going to be worth it. But the value or the way that the PI is structured helps make sure that the costs are not exceeding our like what we can give, unless we sorry, let me rephrase that. The PI model is structured in such a way that we're not paying more than we can, because we only pay when we hit goals and performance targets. Many things. One is that working with Pilothouse is essentially, it feels no different than if the person on our account, so Amar, for example, on Facebook, or Kari on Google, or the CMs on both of those, so Chelsea and Fabrizio on Google and YouTube, and Jocelyn now for Facebook and Meta. It's no different to like having them on our team. And that's not different from my expectation. I actually did kind of expect that going in, just the vibe that I felt in talking to everyone as we were looking around. But it has really come true and like manifested itself in real ways, like, messaging each other back and forth on Slack late into the night, asking them to provide business review summaries for like our leadership team, getting them like if we're evaluating a new tool, for example, like we looked at a couple of like Facebook audience tools. Like Amar is on those calls with us and he's like driving the conversation. And it's not like filtering through us and he's like sort of like, oh, I think we should do this. And then we have to like communicate it over there. It's like, no, like literally Amar is the one pushing the tool company to like be better and like measure those results. I really feel quite astounded that at the level of team integration into the Anyday team, it's everything. I mean, they're like in tune with like what's going on with our consumers. They read the reviews, they see the news, they subscribe to our emails. They know exactly what's going on with our brand at all times. And I think that's a really unusual way of operating as an agency, and one that I have not found really anywhere else, that I'm super grateful for. It has made working with Pilothouse incredibly easy. The other thing that I think makes Pilothouse very different is I think a lot of times, like, you have like an account manager in an agency partner, and you can give them feedback and, like hopefully it will get actioned and all of this stuff. But the level of thoroughness and speed with which Pilothouse executes feedback is unreal. It's like I will have a conversation with, what is her name? You know who I'm talking about? Sierra. I will have a conversation with Sierra like a Thursday at 9 a.m. Let's say, like we have like we have like these alignment calls or whatever. We'll give her feedback about anything. We'll give her feedback about a person on the Pilothouse team that works with us, or we'll give her feedback on like, hey, we want to see the meetings evolve in this way, or whatever. And by the time our weekly Pilothouse call comes at 11, the feedback has already been implemented. So it's unclear how this happens so quickly, but it's like this weird magic thing that happens in the background where Sierra just like makes it happen, and really understands like the interest behind it all. And there's no like drama or politics or anything like that. It's just like everyone's interest is like to get better. So it's been amazing. I would say 100% do it, like because a number of different reasons. One is every team member that I've ever worked with or talked to on the Pilothouse team has been very, very talented, and knows the platforms and the tactics in and out. And it's not the kind of thing where you have to push them to do that. They are already, just because of the model, incentivized to do the best they can. It's not like you get a version of an agency in like the prospective agency shopping process, and then a different one when you sign on, which I think is a concern actually for a lot of people. it really is like through and through very, very connected. You're not getting a version and then like you're not getting screwed afterwards. So talent of the team is a big deal. Secondly, just the overall partnership ability of, or secondly, like the overall feelings and actual execution of being good partners has proven to be really important for the Pilothouse team and is very, very important to us too. And they've come through in every way that we've asked for from them. And let's see what else. Yeah, I really could not recommend working with the Pilothouse team more.
Thanks. That's really happy to hear.